Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Miller Time. I'm State Representative Tim Miller from District 17A here in Minnesota, and this is where weekly I come to you to discuss issues that are important to my district and also important to the state of Minnesota. I'm with new internet now this week, and it seems to be working a little bit better. We'll see how it goes. Rural Minnesota, we sometimes have some challenges with that. Another another time. So we are going to be talking about COVID-19 again this week. I hope to move away from this subject very soon. That will tell me that we're kind of getting back into things. And what I want to do is I want to touch on a couple issues, and then I really hope to have your questions. I see some people that are watching right now, and if you have any questions, bring them to me. And if you're having any issues with the connection, meaning you can't hear me, I believe everything is working and operating properly. Looks good to me. We should be in good shape. But please ask me questions. This is much more interesting, and I can get more in depth if I know what it is that you're wanting to talk about. So welcome. It's been a beautiful day here today. You might hear some background noise. I haven't had time to tweak my microphone. We've got some activities going on. I'm finishing up while I'm at my stay-at-home. I'm finishing up a new bedroom in my basement, and my son-in-law, who's an electrician, is helping me with that. So he's down there, and we have a couple grandchildren with us here today. I don't think I'm violating anything. I hope I'm not. I guess we'll find out. Someone will let me know. So I'm going to jump right into it right here. There's a couple of factual things. I'll add some opinion on some of the issues. So one of my first things, remember, you can go to, it's the IHME. It's the University of Washington COVID. I'm going to put this up on there again. This is the website that you want to go to if you get current information on COVID-19. This is the modeling that's been widely used in the United States. The governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, is using University of Minnesota modeling, and his numbers are radically different from this. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that later. But these are the numbers that seem to be more consistent with what's really happening. And there's been some good news in Minnesota. So as I look at this, I just refreshed it to make sure. And it breaks it down really nice. It says when the stay-at-home went into order, when they closed different businesses, as basic information. And then it goes through some statistics. And kind of the biggest number is a couple big numbers. We are 2 days away from what they're projecting to be our peak, April 18th. Well, no, that doesn't. 2 days since peak resource. Okay, so we're already 2 days past, so that's good news. They expect a total of 195 deaths here in Minnesota from COVID-19. Let me touch on that one. I keep saying we'll talk little bits and pieces later, but let me talk about that one specifically. There's some questions in Minnesota as to what exactly is being included with the actual deaths from COVID-19. State Representative Jensen, who's also Dr. Jensen, an MD, he had told us a couple weeks ago on a radio program I was on that his office is being instructed that if there's any deaths remotely related to respiratory, that they're supposed to call it a COVID-19 death on the death certificate, which I have serious problems with. But that also tells me that they're kind of grouping in. So the total number that we have, I don't really want to argue or belabor that point, but the total number might be a little bit in question, but those numbers are real consistent with what we're seeing. I'm not sure what the total number is today. I haven't seen. But some other numbers to know, that they expect at peak we'll need 293 beds, and again, we're past that peak, but we have almost 5,000 beds in Minnesota. And then ICU beds will need 69 max, and we have a total of 355. So we're in great shape here in Minnesota. I think we're honestly probably climbing out of this right now. So a couple of the issues that I want to talk about. One other thing to remember is the stay-at-home order here in Minnesota is through May 4th. I think that's a bit of a long time. So we have a couple weeks left. Is that right? So 2 weeks from today actually is where the stay-at-home is. That's also the time that restaurants and bars are scheduled to stay closed until. I wish I could tell you if either of those going to be extended. I certainly hope the stay at home is not extended. And with the bars and restaurants, I'm skeptical. I do think that might be extended a little bit. I don't think it needs to be. We should at least be able to start phasing out by that time. But on the stay-at-home order, if you remember, the original reason for the stay-at-home order was to flatten the curve. Remember that phrase? We'll be talking about flattening the curve years from now. That was so that we didn't have such a rush all at the same time in Minnesota that we didn't have enough beds, we didn't have enough ventilators. Well, we haven't even come close to the number of ventilators, max ventilators, or ICU beds here in Minnesota. Matter of fact, we're way under that. So that was a reason for having to stay at home. And then when Governor Walz extended it, he said, well, we're going to extend the stay at home because it's going to save lives. And that sounds compelling, right? We want to save lives. There's no guarantee, and I don't, especially without people necessarily responding, I don't want to get into the argument of whether it will or won't save lives. But what I will say is that it's unknown. You can look at North and South Dakota, and other than one hot spot in a meatpacking plant in South Dakota, they haven't had a stay-at-home, and that's an essential workforce anyway, so that would have happened no matter what. But in South Dakota, their numbers are basically similar to Minnesota's on the number of cases and all that sort of stuff per capita. So I don't think that this needs to be continued. That'll be up to the governor because, as you all know, we have a peacetime emergency powers of the governor. Governor Tim Walz has that. And it's going to take work by the legislature to end that. So that's what I want to touch on next is last Tuesday, so a week ago tomorrow, myself and 3 other legislators proposed a resolution. My stream is jumping and skipping. Okay. That's irritating. Yeah, it's showing low speed. This is on my new internet right now. We're going to have to fight through it, folks. I might keep this short. I'm not sure why my internet is slow. I have my opinions. Yeetmeister, you probably have an opinion on that too, because I went back to Frontier as my service. So hopefully we can make this work. I think I might do a test stream later on this week and see if there's ways that I can figure out to tweak that. Got a lot faster internet on paper, but it may not be fast enough in reality. So anyway, I got myself distracted with the technology. Oh, thank you. That's a good reminder, Eatmeister. So last Tuesday, myself and 3 others presented what's called a concurrent resolution with the House and Senate. These aren't used very often. Matter of fact, when we presented it, it kind of confused some people. But what it basically did is for us to end the stay-at-home, we'll do that too, but to end the peacetime emergency powers by the governor by law, the House and Senate have to pass this resolution. And what we were going to do is we presented the resolution in the House, and if it would have passed there, it would have traveled over to the Senate, we call it. And as it traveled over there, they would hold it as then they put in place some things that we would need to put into law. Because under the emergency orders of the governor, we have some things like the schools are closed right now. People don't have to file their taxes until July 15th. There are some executive orders that I think need to be in place. And we need to sort through those and take them from executive orders and put them into law. Because if we pass this resolution all at once, then by law, the schools would have to go back the next day. You have to file your taxes. There is some funding things that would get all screwed up. And we certainly don't want to do that. The reason why I supported this bill, this resolution, was because I believe that we need to return to normal government. What's normal government? We have an executive branch, a legislative branch, and a judicial branch. Right now, under the peacetime emergency powers, Governor Walz is all 3 of those. And the legislature's meeting again. The courts are there. They're doing their thing. We need to put the executive branch into its proper authority. They should not be writing law, and that's what's been happening. So the legislature needs to retake its responsibilities there. That's what we tried to do. I needed 90 votes, and we got 14 total. So there were not a lot of people that wanted to move forward with this. 90 votes to suspend the rules, and then we needed a majority from the House. But the way procedures work, you're going to have to, if you suspend the rules, you'll get it passed. So it was really the 90, the 2/3 required in order to suspend the rules so that we can hear that. We're going to keep pressing forward. I know that the Minnesota State Senate is also working on something similar, and we hope to deal with that real soon. So I'm going to take a pause here. My granddaughter Sophia is off camera right now, but she wants to say hello, so come on in, Sophie. Okay. Now this is delayed, Sophie, so I'm going to put you on this camera so that you can see. Come on in. Got to come in a little bit more.
Hi.
That's Sophie. So she's closer than 6 feet away from me. But they're here. Grandma's watching them while their dad is helping me with electrical downstairs. Why don't you go ahead and go back to Grandma now?
Okay.
She just wanted to say hi. Thanks, sweetheart. So it's nice to see family, right? So anyway, that's kind of catching us up to where we're at. So it's May 4th, where probably nothing else is going to change before that. We did pass into law last Thursday, restaurants and bars that have a in-house sales liquor license, they can sell off sales now. They can sell off-site. It's limited. There's certain things they can and can't sell. It's basically, think of cases of beer and bottles of wine. I'm not sure about the hard liquor. But in any case, so it's a little baby step forward. I did talk to one of my bar owners in the area about this, and he said he doesn't really make an income off of that, so he doesn't think it's going to be that much of a change. But at least we are moving in that direction. What I want to spend the next 5 or 10 minutes on, we're going to be a little bit short tonight because I'm concerned about the speed of this. But I want to talk about where we go from here. Okay? And I appreciate any questions you might have regarding this. But where do we go from here as we approach that May 4th? What happens? So you're going to still hear a lot of discussion about whether or not we open up the state, is what we're calling it. That basically means start opening up businesses and end the stay-at-home orders. We are going to probably have to phase some of that in. I would like to see it sooner rather than later. I'd like to see it quicker rather than slower. But there's just some realities that we're going to have to be careful of. Because I can tell you, folks, that if there is for some reason that we have a flare-up after we start opening the state, they're going to really lock us up and lock us down, I guess I should say. Hopefully they don't lock us up. There was a Freudian slip, right? But I do think that they would really kind of swing heavy back. So we need to move in slowly. There's going to be a lot of pent-up energy. If you own a business and you're not operating at full steam right now because of the orders by the governor, please let me know. We're running into some examples where it doesn't make any sense that a business shouldn't be open. So anyway, as we move forward from this last keep saying we're going to move forward, then I go to the back. Last Friday there was a protest at the governor's mansion, and it's kind of hard to say how many people were there. There's kind of several hundred is a report, which is probably accurate, but there was kind of a parade of cars that were going through there, kind of social distancing through their cars, and that was a very steady stream as well. I knew some people that were there. They reported that. I saw some videos, and there was kind of a parade of cars. So how many was there? I don't know exactly. I have heard that another one is being organized. I don't know what that looks like. I haven't seen it. But that's probably coming. And what people are basically saying is this is my life. We're a free country, and I should be able to do what they want. And I want to make sure that I'm clear on a couple things, okay? First of all, this sickness is real. There was concerns about how it would spread. But I do think that we're having a better and better handle, and there's tests that are coming out that will tell us more and more each day. But the numbers are way lower in Minnesota than they projected, and we seem to have things in control. And we need to look, as I said, the title of this is What's the Next Chapter, or What's the Next Phase? We need to look towards that. And those people that were protesting last week were basically saying we need to move forward and we need to open Minnesota back. My resolution was effectively to open Minnesota once again. Probably the one commentary that I would give And Keith, thanks for the question, Meister. I'll comment on that as well in just a second. Um, uh, the one commentary that I want to give is we live in a free, independent nation, and that's been put to the test right now. I think people are responding that they do want to live their lives. There's been concern about how that affects other people, and that's certainly an important part of the part of the discussion. But here in the United States, freedom naturally comes with risk. If we want to be a free nation, we open ourselves up to terrorism because we have very loose borders. We have different things that allow us to move around very freely and easily, and that opens us up to risk. Same thing with this disease. There is going to be a balance that has to be struck. We can get into the conversations if you want as to whether we should or shouldn't allow people to get sick. The herd, someone help me, what is that called? The herd, someone tell me? Herd, I have a herd mentality stuck in my head and that's not it. So, there's a basic belief that in order for everyone to move towards getting healthy, we have to let the infection run its course, and some people will get it and on and stuff like that. I do think there's something to that, as well as we need to be able to live our lives. So that's going to have to hopefully be soon. But let me be clear, and then I'm going to answer a couple of these questions or comments that people are putting up here on the chat. Governor Walz still has the power to do what he wants to do, basically. And while we're in session, we would actually the House and Senate would have to vote this resolution through to end that. We're not going to get the votes in the House with a Democrat majority. I don't think we're going to see it right away in the Senate, but hopefully we see that soon to add pressure. If you are not from my district, talk to your representatives and tell them that this is important for you, if it is, and that you would like to see the state open again. Public pressure is how we're going to get this stuff done. So, I distracted myself. Sorry, like I said, there's a lot going on in my house right now, and it's a little bit distracting. Nothing wrong with them. It's just making me lose my concentration. Let me move on to the comments here, because I see them starting to come up quite a bit. And I see Meister Walz seem to be saying that things aren't going to be really opening until we have a vaccine. Yeah, he said that. I'm concerned about that, because that vaccine is going to be a while in coming. Probably not till fall. The testing is going to be coming. I've heard him also say that we probably aren't going to be opening up until everyone can be tested. Pay attention to that, because I don't support that. I do think the testing is going to help us to make good decisions, but to tie people getting back to their lives when people are tested, I have many concerns about that. Wonder how Walz will respond to another rally. He didn't like the first one. I thought it was inappropriate for him saying that we're killing people with that. That's not good for a governor to say. You don't say that about your people. Do you have any guesstimate how much all of these measures are costing us, the taxpayers here in Minnesota? Keith, that's a great question. I can tell you that the costs are going to show up in a lot of ways. We've passed bills probably to the tune of about $800 to $900 million, maybe approaching $1 billion, depending on how the price comes in with some of these things, of money that we've actually spent to the taxpayer money towards some of it's going to medical. Now, the good news is a lot of that medical money isn't being realized, so we won't be using all that. But there's money that's going to some daycares, some food shelves, some small business loans. That's money that's probably going to go out the door. That was the $330 million bill. We have workman's comp for EMS, police, fire. That could be, they're estimating $400 to $500 million. I don't think we're going to see that. First of all, the people aren't getting sick. And second of all, that was really, really worst case scenario. But we are going to be spending that money. But Keith, here's the bigger cost. With the state being shut down, the revenues have really slowed for the state of Minnesota. And preliminary estimates right now, and these are preliminary, and it's a pretty big window, but I'm not hearing numbers lower than this. I'm hearing that the state of Minnesota will be in a budget deficit next year by anywhere from $7 to $11 billion. Now, again, that's an estimate. We won't know those numbers until probably next November. I know that some people are requesting that we do a preliminary projection for Minnesota's income and expenses, a forecast we call it, and that's probably a good idea. But the real numbers that we work off show up next November, and then the official ones come in February. But the cost to the state of that is going to be immeasurable. If we're $7 to $11 billion in debt, or not in debt, short budget shortfall, we are a balanced budget state, and we have to find that money, either through cuts or through spending money. And if history is any measure of what we're going to be doing in the future, we're going to be seeing us making some cuts, but also spending money and probably tax increases. So I don't agree with that, but that's just what you're going to be looking forward to. So those costs are going to be involved. So do we have a guesstimate of how much these measures are costing us, the taxpayers? A ton of money, billions and billions of dollars. And that concerns me. Key says, I agree with protesters, let me see what that says. Oh, I think you stopped there. Let's get back to work. I agree. Immunity. Chip, can you clarify what you mean by immunity? I want to make sure I understand what you're saying or you're asking. Yeetmeister says, one interesting thing about today's COVID-19 conference was his praise of Trump. It was really weird. So there's a couple philosophies, because I know that he praised Trump, and Trump, I think, praised Walz yesterday, and I know we're in weird times, but that is really weird. Take that as an encouragement, because remember what today, we'll see what happens tomorrow, but the encouragement today is that Trump yesterday was praising Governor Walz and how things are going in Minnesota, and Walz praised Trump. But remember, Trump is saying we need to get the states opened again. Trump has had this model where he kind of shows up with a carrot first, and if the carrot doesn't work, then he comes with a stick. So what I think is happening here is the governor and Trump are kind of saying, we're going to be buddies here, and we're going to do this the right way. Hopefully they can agree. The one thing that I really would like to see from Governor Tim Walz is a plan of hope, a plan of direction, a plan of how we can move towards normal, and give at least some ideas of timelines. Because what he's done to this point is he said, we'll wait and see. For now, we're shut down. We'll wait and see what we have to do in the future. And then his only response is we don't want people to die. Now, those are all true statements, but I think that an executive, the chief executive of our state, a true leader, gives people hope and direction. Honest, straightforward, best information, but they need to say, here's what we're going to do. So what I would like to see from Governor Walz is if he said we're going to have to transition out of this, what does the transition look like, right? Give us a preliminary timeline. You can adjust it. To this point, he has not been willing to do that. Getting back to the President Trump thing, President Trump, I think, is starting to come forward with some things that he'd like to see, and he'd like to see our state do. The federal government is pouring a lot of money into the state of Minnesota, and in a good way, there's going to be some strings attached with that. And so I think that if Governor Walz does not start coming up with that plan that I'm talking about, then I think President Trump and the federal government is going to lean on him a little bit. I can't encourage all of you enough. Put the pressure on what you want on the governor, on the legislature, on the House and Senate. I think it's going to be the movement of the people that's going to ultimately change these things, and you're going to have to put the pressure on. I've been putting the pressure on. Other legislators have been putting the pressure on. Now listen, when I say put the pressure on, and we talked about the protesters last week, things have shifted so much in the state. There are so many things that are happening right now. You can't just flip the switch overnight. Need to be clear about that. And everyone is in agreement with that. No matter where you are on the spectrum of this in the legislature, of we got to keep things closed down all the way to open up right away, everyone agrees there's going to have to be a transition. Now, I believe that realistically, if we gave a timeline and said we're going to transition from now until May 4th, and here's what it's going to look like on May 5th, here's what it's going to look like 2 weeks after that, here's what it's going to look like a month after that, people can deal with that, right? I think everyone, when they see the direction that we're going, they can do that. I do think it's going to take 2 to 4 weeks for us to fully, well, not even fully, I think things are going to be different for a while, but to really get us into some semblance of normal life with businesses, with how we go about our business, all that. I do think some social distancing things that we talked about, some hand sanitizing, some other things are going to have to continue on for a little while just to be safe. Because remember, if we go back to normal life and there's a big uptick in number of cases, it's really going to swing the other way and they're going to shut things down. So we need to make sure that we transition is proper. So my hope is that we hear real soon plans that I can get behind and support. By May 4th, we get some of these businesses open. Beauticians and barbers, I can't see any reason why they can't be coming back online. I can't see any reason why we can't start transitioning some of these restaurants, maybe limited number of people, maybe some sanitation, some things and stuff like that, but I can't see why we can't start moving back. There's other businesses that are really being held up right now that I think need to get back, and you're going to see that. So back to yikes, herd immunity. Thanks, Chip, herd immunity. Oh, that's why I said immunity. Okay, Chip, thank you. I don't know why I can't remember that. Herd immunity. I don't know if everyone understands what that is, but basically, once the herd all gets it, then they become immune, and it becomes more resilient. And by the way, most medical professionals believe that has to happen regardless. We were just, again, flattening the curve so that we didn't get over that number of beds that we had or respirators. People are still going to need to get this to build up their immunities. Yes, thank you, Chip. Tell your farm to stop using internet. Oh, fam. Yeah, we're going to have to prepare a little bit different for that, folks. It's been choppy, and I apologize for that. We're going to have to work on that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some test stuff. I've been really busy, and so I set this Miller time up, and then we kind of jump into it with both feet, and I think I have some speed issues we're going to have to deal with. So, folks, I am going to wrap it up right now. I don't have a lot of specific pieces of information, mostly because a lot of it's conjecture. A lot of it is going to be showing up in the next couple days, I believe, from Governor Walz and President Trump, and we're going to see where things go. The legislature has been meeting. We've met 4 times as the House. I know the Senate met today. I think they're even meeting tomorrow. And so we're getting back into things in government. If you have any questions, if you have any issues, please call me or email me. This is the best way to get a hold of me. Go ahead and email me, and I'll communicate with you, or you can call. I don't want to put my phone number up in here because I don't think very many people will see it, but I don't want to find out the hard way that I just sent it to the whole universe. But it is pretty easy to find my cell phone number. If you don't have it, ask someone you know. Someone else probably has it because I give it out a lot, and I'm happy to talk with you on the phone. So I'm going to wrap up here in a minute, but I want to see what E-Meister said here. How many more cruise or Navy ships until we admit this thing is more pervasive than thought and a nothing burger? More cruise or Navy? Yeah, I'm not sure what that means, E-Meister. Hate to say it, but what you had for internet before was better. Okay, Keith, I'm sorry. I meant to speed up my internet, not slow it down. So we'll deal with that next week. I'm going to wrap it up because we're just running into more problems with this. And as I said, I don't have much more to go. So I apologize for the jumpiness. And if it was difficult to follow along, we'll get that cleaned up for next week. Thank you all for joining me. I really do want to get this more in depth. I keep saying that. And then there's just different things that kind of come up. And we just shoot right from doing this. So you all take care. Stay safe. or be safe, be smart is what I like to say. Be safe, be smart, but don't be afraid. And it's time for us to start moving to open the state of Minnesota again. God bless all of you, and you have a good night. Thank you.